Hello everybody, my name is Billy, I've got Big Bang Theory playing in the background, because, who doesn't love a bit of Big Bang Theory, yeah, so, who doesn't like Big Bang Theory? I know I like it. I mean, I've actually rewatched it like 5,000 times. But anyways, I just wanted to go through this code for the game that I'm building. Before we go through it, I'll just show you what it looks like. Depending on how the laptop feels like running, it could run either really fast, or it'll take forever to load. Looks like it's going to be the fast one. So yeah, this is the fast one. I've disabled these in passive for now, so we can just go through that. We'll turn on the longest shooter, and I'll just keep it as default. So we click finished, and it should work here. Good. So this is the game so far. It's based on an Xbox, except you can hit. There's no damage bars implemented yet, but it's supposed to be like Garry's Mod, where you obviously have your Chrome and you can hit things. I'm thinking of making an animation for the crowbar where it doesn't just go down to like there and it looks like a wiener. But this is only what I've noticed that whenever you like go too far away from him, he stops following you. He keeps not following you, but he still looks at you. So I suppose it's not too bad. It still works. It's probably just one of the functions not working. So you have your sprint. These are little placeholders, and you have your open world. And I've been working on this for a while now. It's quite a good game if I do say so myself. So let's go into the code a little bit, shall we? So this Tinker stuff, we'll just skip over this part because it's boring really, that part anyways. Right, this one, root equals tk.tk. Never mind, wrong one, that's the correct one still. From Tinker import everything, and from Tinker import message box, because you have to do it like that for some reason. So unlocked is the variable for the password and username. Normally it's false, but I've set it to true, so I don't have to input the username and password. But when it's false, it just doesn't run the code. It'll say no variable called true or whatever. But anyways, so yeah, this is the code for the username and password. So we've got a function here, obviously, and then we've got the password equals entry into a password.get, which can be found just a little bit more further down. That's username, password. So the entry password equals entry. So obviously it's just width in the background and then show, which makes an asterisk instead of showing you the actual password. So we'll go back up here. Then obviously we've got this and username as well. So the message alert, which is just like a Windows everything. I'll see if I can show you again. This is pretty much this. Just close this. So if you do get it wrong, it does that. But if you use to get it right, that's nice of that. We are the players and the boys want to. When it brings, this is what the message alert is. This is what it brings up. So password and username, okay. Press OK to continue to the game, and then it'll obviously put you into the game. It'll put you into the debug screen so you can configure the game a little bit, but then it'll put you into the game. So obviously, wait. Alright, yeah. So yeah, this is just this message alert says. Hang on, I just duplicated things. No, it doesn't matter. You get pretty much the basics of it. So, yeah. So if it doesn't equal that, then it says password and/or username incorrect, which puts it at the bottom of the screen, and then it deletes the username and password from the input box so you can re-put it in. And if it is right, then it says password and username accepted. Then it'll print it into the little thing down here, and then it'll print the username. Then it'll put in the unlocked and make it true, and it'll destroy itself so it can continue on to the next line of code. So just obviously, yeah. So the submit button, which is this one, does the command submit, which if we go back up here is this function. So when you click submit with the Tinker box, it'll call on that function and then return the variable. What is it? I forgot what it was. Unlock. That's it. So if we just go down here, enter the username, password, boilerplate stuff. So this is another one for the debug screen. So just setting up some of the basic variables here. Full screen equals false. Name is next box. That's the window name. Stinky. I couldn't think of any words, so I just came up with stinky equals 2500, which is the scale of the world. Crow visible is whether the crow bar is visible or not. So when you pause it, you can't see it. I haven't implemented that feature yet, but when you pause it, you shouldn't be able to see it. And then Bunger enabled is whether a Bunger is enabled. Tate enabled is whether Andrew Tate is enabled. And shade enabled is whether you have shaders now. So another function called fulls, and it obviously makes the full screen global. So this is a button, obviously, and it's a toggle button. So it will say on or off, and if you just click it, it'll turn it on or it'll turn it off, and it will show the button if it's on or off, which I find pretty cool. Obviously, you got the function confirm name for the name of the thingy, which would be next spot, so you can set it to like, I don't know, cheese. So it'll make the name global, and then it'll get the name from entry, which would be the variable e, because e equals entry. Destroy, which destroys the main loop, so it carries on to the code, and this is a bungerable, which is just the same as it's up here, and so go down here, it's the same as a bungerable, and the scales, it has to be an integer because you're putting a number in and not a string, which would be letters. So it's stinky equals integer e1.get, because it's a different entry box and a different variable, so e1 equals entry instead of e equals entry. Shade, which is the same as a bunger, but it shades, and this just sets up the main loop. Oh my god. So yeah, it's pretty basic stuff. Click finish, calls on the function destroy, which destroys the main loop, confirm name, full screen, basic stuff. And there's the main loop, of course, and then this is the main code. So this is I don't really use this. It doesn't work. It was supposed to make it so when you're on laptop you can do full screen, but it didn't work, and I can't really train any different things, so I'll just get rid of that for now. So, no, thank you, tab 9. So where it says window.title equals name, this is what the module is called Athena. I think that's how you pronounce it anyways. But it's called Athena, and window.title is the title of the app. So if you're not in full screen, it will say like, well, it would say Minecraft. If you play Minecraft, it would say Minecraft. But for this, it would say Nextbox, obviously. So it's equal to name, which, as you remember up here, you could input it, or by default, it's Nextbox. And then if full screen equals true, then window.fullscreen equals to true, obviously. And you can't change the icon because I like it, and it's Papyrus. Borderless. I don't know what it does, I just added it because it looks nice. So if the shaders are enabled, then it creates the random seed, and then the shader, which is entity.default shader equals liquid shadows shader, which means it adds shadows and suns and stuff. This is just to disable the exit button and turn off the FPS counter, because the exit button is kind of, a little bit, and you don't really need an FPS counter. I suppose I could add that into the debug screen whether you want the FPS counter or not, but it doesn't matter now. So input handler.bind, that just binds right arrow with D. For when you play like Minecraft, you click W to go forward. This just makes it you can click W or not W. No, yeah, you can click W, or you can click up arrow to go forward. So that's that. This is just audio, so scary equals audio, and then the where you can find this. This one does autoplay because it's the background music. Close, close, or close, whichever one you want it is close. So whenever you get in range of it, it will play. So that's why it all plays false and loop is false, because you don't need to loop. This is true because it constantly keeps playing, and Tate is obviously Tate audio. It does loop and does not autoplay. So as you can see, Harlod, which is supposed to be called Harold, but I input it incorrectly because I'm terrible at typing. So it's Harlod equals first person controller, which is the Asina for being able to be in first person and making the game fully 3D where you can walk around on it. So this part here where the model equals to cube, cube is one of the preset things that comes with Asina, which means that it's well you can it's pretty basic. You understand what that a cube is, don't you? A cube is a cube. So the model of Harlod is a cube, and it's offset by Z minus 10, and the color of it equals, so it's American, so I'd have to put COL or R instead of the British COL or UR. So color equals color.orange, and then orange equal origin underscore Y equals 10 to make it a bit higher and better. You can use RGB, so instead of using color equals color.orange, you can use color equals color.RGB, I believe. This is just the default speed, which I don't really need in there, but I'm keeping it in because why not? So Harlod.walk speed equals 8 and Harlod.run speed equals 18. So this is just the health bar. If name is equal to main, which is just part of the Asina thing, then health bar 1 equals health bar, and then yellow because sprint, and then tint off a little bit so it looks a bit nicer, and then sets the health bar value to 100. So this is what I find really cool about Asina. If you have a function and you call it update, the Asina file has a thing called in the code where it says if has attribute something update, then it will always call on update. So it'll always do this function. You don't have to call it in your code anywhere. So this just says if you hold the key shift and hold the key W, then it'll see if the health it's based on a health bar, but I've made it into a sprint bar. So if health bar or sprint is the value of it is equal to nothing, then it'll do the walk speed. And if it's higher than 0 or below 0, which it can't be below 0, but if it's higher than 0, then it will obviously do the run speed, which as we see up here is 18 and walk speed is 8, so it will do 8 here and 18 here. So Harlod.speed, which is the speed modifier for Harlod of the player, so equals player.run speed, and .run speed equals 18. So, and then it will take 0.25 away from the health bar every second, or a little bit less than a second, about 100 milliseconds, or and if you aren't holding shift and W, then the sprint bar starts to regenerate 0.125 every millisecond, and then obviously you have Harlod being their walk speed, so 8. So like I said before, if unlocked equals true, then it'll test if the ground is lower than 2000, and then it'll create this where the scale is whatever this year. So let's say it was like 1800, then it would go through this part and make it 1800, and then the Y a little bit down. Whereas this one would make it, so if Stinky is bigger than 2000, so like 2200, then it'll do this one. If it's lower than 2000, then it'll do this one. And as you can tell, Y is different because the textures don't load. It's hard to explain. Edit a camera, it's just an edit a camera. You might be able to tell what that means, you might not. Hello.collider, this just adds a collider to the first player. So hello.collider equals box collider, which is a collider, that is a box. crowbar. So obviously crowbar equals an entity, and you saw that before, it's a red crowbar, so your model is your crowbar, which you can use blend files or I believe Unity as well, but it's crowbar, so it's this blend file, it's Blender. Color equals color.red, scale equals 1, rotation equals vector 3, and vector 3. This rotates it because the original blend file is upside down, and then this just positions it on your screen to the far right. Texture, it doesn't have a texture, so I don't even need that, but I did have a texture originally, so I kept it in, because why not? This just sets it to the camera, so the player UI. And if we go down, then define active and passive, which means, so if we go down here, define update 1, then this wouldn't work, like I said before, the update always calls on it, so update 1 wouldn't work, so there is a workaround they did for that, because you can only have one function named one thing, so if held key is left mouse or held key equals right mouse, then hand.active. Actually, you know what, let's remove the right hand one, just like that. So if key is left mouse, then hang.active, which does this, which means it sets the crowbar to like the position that you saw before. And if it's not, if the held key isn't mouse, then it does hand.passive, which is this, where the original position is up here. So if we go down, to work around it, we have to create an entity which does the update command, which is update 1, which calls on it every single second it can. So obviously then it's your hand, so hand equals crowbar. Suitable parents, that's just a little placeholder dead, that's not being used yet, so another entity like the crowbar, except this time oh, there it is. Yeah, so the parent this time is suitable parents, which is entity, so it's just on itself, but it also spans in the world. Super init model equals cube, as you know, texture, and then we've got the Ubunga texture because there's Ubunga on it, obviously. Scale equals y, so that's how tall it is, and then x is how big it is in width, and origin y how far it is above from the ground or not. Color equals right gray, just to give it some nice little things, and has a box collider, and then arguments. Now this does work, the update function does work multiple times as long as it's in a class or entity in this case. So this will test if the distance equals distance from Harlod xz, so Harlod.position, the self.position. If distance is bigger than 20, return, and then it'll look at Harlod. So, and if the distance is bigger than 2 but less than or equal to 10, then it'll go forward. It'll set its position forward towards Harlod at a 6, whereas Harlod works at 8. And if distance is bigger than 10 but less than 40, then it'll run 2 times as fast towards Harlod. And this is Andrew Tate, just the same thing, where he has chase, obviously, because if we go down here, then he has his music. So as you get into a certain radius of him, which is this, then it'll play chase equals true, and then if chase equals true, then Tate.play. Then we can go down. If Ubunga enabled equals true, this spawns Ubunga in, and then if Tate enabled equals true, this spawns Tate in. This one equals 10 times 4, cause just put them away, because originally if you had it x equals x times 4 for both of them, they just spawn in each other, but if you change like this, so it's like 8 and the bottom one's 4, it wouldn't work. So I changed the x to a 10, and then in range, so this is how many that spawns. Obviously we only need 1, so we only spawn 1 in there. And then this was those little brick things that you saw, we went through this. This just spawns them at a random x position between -8 and 20, z position -8 and 20, plus 8 at sometimes, you know. A collider box, obviously scale y, just tells you how big they are, and color equals color.hsv000, random uniform, which means just random color. And this just makes sprint bar looks smooth without it being janky. Opened is the pause menu, so pause input is another thing like update where you've seen it always calls it, I believe. So this obviously declares opened in here, so you can test if opened equals false, which it does here. So if key is equal to tab, so if you click tab and opening equals false, which it says here, this will disable the crowbar from being seen, and it'll just pause the game, making everything unmovable, and it'll set open to true, so you can't keep spamming it. So this action is a function, obviously. So Clover's open button. This just gets rid of the buttons because we go down here. We have the buttons which are created when you pause the game. So what you do, button equals button, right? And this is return to game button. This button shows you the game name. I could just change that to a text to make it not clickable. But it's not clickable. Well, you can click it, but it doesn't do anything. But so button on click, which means when you click it, it will call on the function action. If we go up here, this is this one, so it'll unpause the game and send all the buttons away. And then quit, which is just quitting the game. And go down, pause handler, just handles the pause. This is a position thing, so you can reset your position, but I haven't added it yet, because why not? Shaders, it's just add sun with directional light, and then the sun, and then sky. And app.run, which is the same as Tinker, where it's like root.main loop, which continuously runs the code over and over again. So that is a basic explanation of the code, and I hope that you understood it, because probably did not do a very good job at explaining it very well, but I hope you enjoyed. See ya.